You know that quilt that I fixed because someone quilted it bad? I'll post the video up here somewhere. Well, the lady decided that she wanted to give me work because she loved my work so much that she finished her little baby quilt that she started maybe like a year and something ago, and she brought it to me. So when you work for someone and do something like crazy as taking apart a quilt and re-quilting it for them, people have a lot of confidence in your work and they're willing to try their hand in quilting and bring you work. And then tomorrow I'm getting another quilt client that she helped a friend finish the quilt, and she sent that lady to me. So it is a blessing, right? See this here? It's real pretty ferns, and then the fabric, back fabric, looks delicious, like chocolate gold love. This is the design. So today my goal is to get 3 quilts completely quilted and trimmed and reseated. Well, if I spend 8 hours up here, maybe I can get at least 2 quilts done, 1 on its way, maybe 3 quilts done if I stay here late. So this is a little quilt, so it's gonna go pretty fast. I'll get her done, and then I have a job, a stocking job. Yes, I'm piecing stockings together for a client. On the stocking, on the edge, it's gonna have Love Nana COVID 2020. This is a beautiful stocking that I'm putting together for a client. And they're friends with this client, so when they come together, they both will pick up their item. And then, so right now, while it's quilting, I'm putting leaders on quilts on the back and getting the back fabrics ready, so when I start quilting, it's ready to go. I'm using a sheet, a king size sheet. It cost me $14 for the king size sheet and also the other side, so it kind of saves me money on back fabric. You can't buy back fabric for $14, and this is what the client wanted, and I'm gonna give it to her, even though I recommend that she uses cotton, but you can't. Anyway, that's not what she wanted, so I'm gonna give her what she wants and not complain. I also made these leaders. So, aren't they pretty? They're not beige. My studio is a bit of a mess. Look, can I see my mess? So, that's the mess. And then there's the mess there. I consider this a mess. And look, there's the mess there. I'm gonna work on those 2 quilts. I need a binding for that quilt. Projects in there. And I need to sew the back fabric for that quilt. Here's a quilt that came in from out of town. And then here's my batting. And I have some muslin right there, because I'm gonna do an antique quilt, and I'm gonna see if, I don't know if the fabric is too thin. If I get a lot of this work done, these quilts will go to downstairs, and I'll have them ready for my clients to pick up. Another piece of batting here that I call it Frankenstein, that I cut. It was part of this piece, and I cut in half, and it fit perfectly. And so it has a beautiful straight edge on this edge. It really doesn't matter how it looks over here, but on the inside. And I'm gonna get rid of all the weird lint and thread from other quilts that it was probably sitting on. And then I have, this is just interfacing that I cut into like 1 inch, 2 inch strips. Like this is a 2 inch strip, this is 1 inch, maybe and a half, maybe. I think it's 1 inch strip, probably 1 inch. And I get the interfacing, and I'll save like cardboard pieces like this, and I'll cut a whole bunch of interfacing and I'll roll it on here. You can do it edge to edge, But what I found is sometimes it'll open and it'll peekaboo through, but then it's completely flat. But I kind of like having it sitting over like 1/4 of an inch. But when it's quilted, you won't notice that you have just like a little ripple. It's like almost like when you have a bad fabric seam. And so then I iron it and it's completely nice and flat. And this is how I Frankenstein my batting. And once it's like, do you see how you don't even see that there is anything other than when I trim it, the client's gonna know that it was. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm moving the machine to see placement. And then now that I'm here, I'm gonna move this over to see if it's on the edge. So I'm gonna start row, I think this is 3. All right, I finished this quilt. It took me about 2 hours to do it, give or take. And look how the back looks. I don't know if you can see it. Look at that quilting. She looks pretty. So I already have leaders on a couple other quilts that I want to do. And so I'm gonna go ahead and hustle myself to put that quilt on. I try to save my client as much material as I can. And now I ask my client, which is top? Remember we talked about which is top? Honestly, on this quilt, who knows which is top? Some of the braids have, I don't know if you could see, a little bit of puckering. And if I starch it now, when I heat set it, the starch goes into the quilt fiber and then it'll kind of grab better. And you can see, like, to have, even though it's black on black, you want to make sure you have a straight line, that your border has a straight line. Like you can see it here, it's kind of turning in. So I'm going to base here to lock it down like that so it doesn't go in. I don't know if you can see that. You can see, like, it's full. Sometimes your borders can be full, but then like inside the border, kind of so I'm on row number 3. I just need 2 more rows and I'm done with this quilt. Kind of have to micromanage it a bit. Ironing really does help set this down. It really does help kind of like anchor it down, and this way I don't have to micromanage it as much. One of the things I do is pull the fan down towards the block and it kind of straightens them, and I'm trying to maintain like a straight line here. Oh no. Maybe move it up a little bit. And then I already starched the fabric, and as you can see, and I've noticed if I pull the fan in the direction that the fan is, like this way, right here, right here. What I did is I put a piece of fabric there, and then I have interfacing, And I'm going to tuck that interfacing into the hole, and I'm going to tuck it underneath this block, and I'm going to pull and underneath this block, and I'm going to, because it's like the fabric tore, and then I'm going to iron it down. And then when she picks up the quilt, I'll let her know that she can hand stitch this down, and then it's sealed and it's also reinforced. And it's a fusible interfacing. It's a very light fusible interfacing, and this way kind of meshes. And so she can hand stitch this and this, and so now it's stable at least. And I don't see any other tears anywhere. And usually you could steam something a couple times. She's almost done.